Good morning. Welcome to the channel. I say good morning, of course. You might be watching at any sort of time. So, hello, I suppose is better. The slightly different monologue today. Hope that's okay. So I wanted to talk about a number of different issues all in one vlog, really, today, just to get some sort of things out of my hair. Firstly, I want to just give a shout out to the Good Food Project. You may be wanting to stock up. We keep hearing there's going to be some form of psyop. We may get locked down. We may have shortages in the supermarkets and things like that. So the Good Food Project, although here this is Barbara O'Neill stuff, Charles Dowding, some great books. I would recommend this book, definitely, What Really Makes You Ill. I have got Dawn Lester coming on the show very shortly, actually, and I'm ploughing my way through this 800 tome. But and then there's Clive de Carle's stuff and various other things, of course. But the Good Food Project does vegetables. They do meat and bread and cheese, dairy, and then a whole host of all sorts of other bits and bobs that you might need. So I'll leave the link in the description. Fully Awake, Steve, who runs it, Fully Awake and On Our Side. So there's that. And another site that I want to get out to, I'll show you that in a moment. But I was chatting to somebody yesterday, and I just wanted to mention some very sad news. We're talking about babies being born in the country thanks to a certain medical intervention. It does seem as if, and now I can't verify this because it's hearsay, but said to me, and I'd be interested in if you know anything more about this, but up and down the country there seems to be an increase in babies who are being born dead than alive. Which is a bit rare. I mean, sometimes you get the odd, obviously you're going to get the odd death, the odd stillbirth. But midwives are secretly reporting, or trying to report, but it's being hushed up, that there are more babies being born dead than alive than ever before. And in some cases, on some wards, you've got more dead babies than alive babies, which is unheard of. That is thanks to a certain medical intervention that is interrupted and should not have been given to pregnant mothers. And if anybody is thinking of a certain boost, perhaps they might reconsider that for their own health and for the health of their unborn. And we wish everybody well with all of that. We are beginning to see now the sieve of information turn from a sieve through to a colander, and from a colander into the bricks of a dam breaking, as more and more people are beginning to realise the great harms that have been happening to people. And on this channel, although I am now greatly restricted, you may have noticed my numbers, the reach has gone down. That's because the platform, I believe, as I'm just under 200,000 subscribers, is being throttled. I'm sure they wouldn't say that, but I'm convinced that the notifications that people ought to be getting and not getting through, that people are being unsubscribed from the channel. And in fact, my numbers a year ago today, when things were, I guess the platform was not fully aware of the direction of travel, was allowing these messages to get out. Now I think they're allowing me to say things, but to a very small audience. And so if you are watching this, you're one of the lucky ones. So I have no problem with anybody wanting to cut and take bits out, download this, share it elsewhere. I'm not precious about the material itself. If it's helping humanity, and we desperately need to help humanity and get people aware of the great harm that has been perpetrated for the last 150 years in all its iterations, then we need to do that however we need to do it. One of the things that a lot of people have said to me, I think, over the last few months is, Richard, you keep having different guests and they can be quite confusing. And this is true. I'm very much urged by a couple of people who want me to go down one particular path, which actually I do think is a relevant path, and I will be doing more work on that very soon. I am just waiting for a couple of resources or resources to come in so I can back it up with not just my work and hearsay work, but other people's work. So bear with me with that. So I wanted to say about some of the guests that I've had on the show. You may agree with them, you may disagree with them. My policy has been over the last 14 months is to allow people to express themselves. I've enthused with them to try and understand their point. But you may feel that, particularly in, say, the legal and lawful area, there are people with different nuances. Now, because I happen to enthuse with them doesn't necessarily mean I wholeheartedly agree. It means I'm open-minded to their ideas. And I do have a guest coming up who very much goes against some of the ideas that I now believe in, but I do enthuse and allow him or her to put their point of view across, and you'll see that come up. And you may say, but oh, Richard, I don't know, you seem to have conflicting guests. Well, I think that's a good thing, because ultimately it's down to the audience to make up their own mind. It's not for me to say 100% this is the direction you should do. And that is there being the whole investigation with all the guests, from sovereignty to legal to lawful to banking to health to even the spirituality or contacting aliens and things like that. We've had an incredible range of different guests doing all sorts of different things. And it's all about opening our minds. Really, that's how I see it, opening our minds to new ideas and getting away from that very narrow band. Okay, so you'll see me go in a more specific direction very soon in what I believe and what I have learned and take away from all of this. One of the things that a number of people are desperately pushing back, and you've seen me push back, and that is the unlawful state of things like taxation, and in particular, the council tax, which is hurting a lot of people. A lot of the policies we've seen coming out of government in the last year or two have been incredibly anti-human. It is almost as if the government was destined to drive us into oblivion. It is as if the government have lost their sense of humanity, their sense of moral duty, their sense of benevolence. I started out this channel switching from my Bald Explorer activities 14 months ago, questioning why it was the government were doing these things to us, why they were treating us as if we were cattle or sheep, why they were treating us in a harsh way. I no longer question why. I know they're doing it, and we know that there is an agenda behind it all. And we know that they know that we now know what they're up to. And there is a growing awakening. And I think they are frightened that this growing awakening will escalate very quickly. Their days are numbered, I know that. And I was chatting to a chap only the other day, and if they manage to get through to the election and we have another prime minister, I think, and I agree with the person who came round, that this will be the last type of prime minister that we have in this type of government, because I think there is a change in the air. It's not just me wishing it or trying to create it. There is a change in the air. I think the whole world is now beginning to stand up to the regimes that have been pushing down on us. We are realizing that we're not as dumb and as brainwashed as we thought. Yes, a majority of people still are thinking within this narrow band, but more of us are beginning to become aware that actually what has been going on, and there is going to be a change. I feel it in my bones. The last 100 years, particularly, have been a disastrous mistake, not only in legal things, but in health, in all sorts of different ways, education, our borders, everything has been a complete and utter mistake in how we've been governed and treated, and the technology being used against us. But we're not putting up with this any longer, and we're beginning to realise, and I think we are strong, and that we are beginning to get united. Although we are all seeing each other argue, all these different factions are arguing against what is the process, the main thing is that we know now what has happened to us and who the enemy really are. And they're not those kind, nice, benevolent people who seem to be saying everything is for our benefit, as they perhaps in the past once did. Now we're beginning to see the mask has truly slipped. And one of those, as I say, we're pushing back against the council tax. And we've seen this now with a lot more, and we'll see this again in April when the council tax bill becomes due. And there is no... The liability order we've spoken about, that this is spoken in a court to the side. I still believe that it is a hired court by the council, that it is unlawful, and that these liability orders, if you're not actually there in front of the judge, we've seen evidence that that means that there is no liability order. But this is being passed on to enforcement agencies, third-party interlopers, who are going around with their big thugs desperately trying to extract and extort money from people who perhaps want to contribute to their local community but disagree with how the gathering of these funds have been done and how they're going to a central government consolidate fund and being used against their will to fund wars, to help innocent men, women and children being murdered. And a lot of people are very upset that that is how the taxes are going. There is still cognitive dissonance from many who say that couldn't possibly be happening, but the evidence is too strong now, and people do need to begin to wake up to what really is going on and stop thinking in terms of conspiracy theories, but thinking in terms of actualities. Anyway, for those people who are under attack from all of this, I was sent this website, and I'll put the link into the description. It may be useful for people. And this is Challenging Debt Buyers, County Court Summons. And we're seeing this. This is Beat the Bailiffs in the United Kingdom. And these processes may well work in other English-speaking places. But I will be doing some more work on this in a slightly different format, about trust law, which is the highest law, and we'll be looking at that in more detail very soon. But this site here is talking really about how you can push back the three-letter notice and various things. You should be asking to get sent to you a deed of assignment from these third-party interlopers. What happens if you've got a judgment already, how you can set it aside, all of this, the process of fighting back. And the more people, like most of my guests have said, the more people that do this, the more people that fight back, learn their standing, correct the mistakes and the errors, push back and say, actually, do you know what? We are the people of this. You are our servants, the better. And so this is an interesting site. I haven't had a huge chance to read it myself because I wanted to get this out to you as quickly as possible. But it comes from a reliable source. And at the end of the day, these bailiffs and the enforcement officers who are out there causing us grief and lowering our vibration, taking our energy, which is what these shape-shifting, nasty people actually want from us in order to continue with enslaving us. We need to rise up and reclaim our standing. I'll be talking more about trust law and how we are, in fact, the beneficiary, the executor of our trust, and that these people are the trustees who we can instruct. But in the meantime, there are various other websites. I will bring in those to you as we push back. I think we're moving into a very essential time now. And as much as I can on this channel, I will try and bring you as much information. Bear in mind, this is all an opinion, and you must do your own due diligence. I had an email from somebody saying, but a friend of mine is in dire straits because he just says, Richard says this and Richard says this. You must do your own due diligence. This is my opinion. I am sharing what I have been either told or shown, knowledge that I have used my own common sense, but it is an opinion. And we are all fighting against what the tyranny that has been pushed down upon us. And good luck to all of you. Stay in touch. I apologize if I cannot get back to you on the emails. You send me so many of the links that you send me are videos that I just do not have time to watch. I'd rather have URLs to websites because that's easier for me to quickly digest and see if it's relevant for what I want to share. But many of you do send emails, and I apologize, I just cannot get back to you. I don't have a secretary or a PA or anything like that. I don't want to pass that over to a third person so that you get not the response from me. So all I can say is if it's really urgent, then nag me. But if I don't reply to you, I do try to see everything. I just don't get time necessarily to respond. Thank you for watching. Until next time, take care and look after yourself.